Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with another episode of Plague Inc. Evolved, the early access Windows versions of a popular cell phone game. Today we are going to play as the virus, but first things first, let me ask you to turn off or whitelist me in any ad blockers. Help me make a career. We're going to be using metabolic jump to get more DNA from popping red bubbles. We're going to be using the genetic mimic to make our plague harder to cure. We will use aerocyte to increase its spread by air. We will use urban file to give it a boost in urban environments. And we will stick with ionized helix bonus DNA when devolving. Actually, let's see, for a virus, let's change it to translation, because we don't get bonus DNA when devolving. We actually have to pay to devolve on the virus. So for bacteria, ionized helix. For pretty much everything else, translation plus. Alright, we have 42% of our genes unlocked, and what we're doing is trying to get that to as close to 100 as we can. Gonna be playing on casual. Every casual victory gets us another gene modification unlocked. Last time, the last virus we had was Justin, in honor of a Justin Bieber, and he did mightily destroy the world, as I suspected he would. But today we're going to talk about something serious. A little bit more serious, at least. The human papillomavirus, or pavillonavirus, commonly known as HPV. HPV has been in the news recently because there isn't a vaccine for it, and the recommendation is now that it be given to both males and females to help eliminate the HPV virus and cure it and pretty much get rid of it, like we have gotten rid of polio and measles for the most part through vaccination. Now, for a long time, I think HPV vaccine has been given to girls, or recommended to be given to girls, but with not enough ferocity, as it is now being pushed to that both boys and girls get the vaccine. Where should we start HPV? Let's start it in France. France is the country of love. Well, they have the language of love, at least. Arguably, many would say no. But let's just say France is a very romantic place, so that would make sense that HPV started there. If you don't know what HPV is, it is a virus that is transmitted through mostly, if not all, sexual contact. It is a virus that can be carried by both males and females, as I've said, but it only really, as a virus, isn't symptomatic, as it were, in males, really. It's only really symptomatic in females, and it causes them to get, I believe, cysts. And getting cysts requires sometimes a surgery. It can reduce the chance of being able to have children. It's not something you particularly want, but I don't think it's it might cause tumors and cancers in rare cases, but it's not something that I'd say is as bad as like getting AIDS, whereas HIV and AIDS destroys your entire immune system. If you're going to work on that kind of cryptic scale of, well, HPV will only make you barren and never able to have children, versus AIDS, which will make you dead completely. But that's not a very good way to measure it. And so, with the elimination of the vaccination, which all we have to do to get rid of it is get a big portion of the world to vaccinate for HPV, both genders. When you only say females need something, then you're basically saying 50% of our population doesn't need this vaccination. Now, you need to get a groundswell of it, about 80% of your population to be vaccinated. You don't have to get everybody vaccinated. There are people who are allergic to vaccinations. Children under a certain age can't get vaccinations. So it's not ever as simple a thing as soon as the babies are born, we could just give them a few injections and they would never get any diseases at all. It doesn't work that way. Babies, newborn babies in particular, are very, very fragile. If that's a huge understatement, I would say, or kind of a duh moment, but they really are in their biology, and so they basically have no immune system anyway. So if you even tried to give them a vaccine, which is not dead versions and not live versions of virus, what it is they're synthetic things designed to look like the virus, so your antibody system, your natural human antibody system, recognizes those and creates a solution to it. And so it's basically like it's like a simulation. You're giving you're running your body through a simulation, and as your body runs through that simulation, it will sometimes do the things that it normally and naturally does to cure yourself if you actually had the disease, but you don't actually have the disease. So this is often why people get confused, and when they get like flu shots every year, and then they go, well, then I got the flu. The answer to that is either A, you already had the flu and you didn't get the shot early enough, or B, you're getting the symptoms because of your body fighting off it with a fever, runny nose, and things like that. But all of those should be slighter, and the core of it, the part that people have a hard time seeing, is you really don't have the flu if you got the vaccine early enough and really didn't catch it, which those are hard things to test. But not having the actual virus in your body means the virus can't mutate, it means the virus can't grow, it means the virus can't spread. So you would not be contagious if you're having symptoms like as if you had the flu because of the flu vaccine. You won't be contagious, it can't mutate, and it can't grow. So basically, it's just your body overreacting a little bit. So as for the vaccine for HPV, all we have to do is make sure we can get all of the, I'd say about 80% of the world to vaccinate, and you pretty much have eliminated it from the world. Now there are certain problems with this, as far as, let's see, let's go ahead. I'm going to play a little bit different here because we started in France. Let's go ahead and give it one here, give it one here, give it one here. There are certain problems with trying to vaccinate certain areas of the world, certainly. Poor countries, distributing vaccines can be very difficult if you don't have a stable country, if the country is run by warlords or drug dealers. You can have foreign aid send as many vaccines as they want, but if it's getting stolen or not distributed because of conflict, you can't do it. And that's kind of where we are at with a lot of vaccines, is that we have the vaccines for almost everything. Flu is kind of the exception because it mutates very fast, and so that one has to be synthesized and updated annually, whereas it seems like most of the other vaccines don't really require as much work. So, but getting it to countries. The other problem, and what is in particular the problem with HPV, is because HPV is almost a universally transmitted sexually disease, there is this mentality, I don't know if it's a lack of thinking things through or a actual people have thought things through and they just want to be cruel or mean. They don't want to help people that have sex, particularly people that have sex at usually an age younger than they approve of. So the recommended age for the HPV vaccine, I believe, is 12-year-olds, both male and female, somewhere around there. And there is in that problem a lot of people that think if they give them vaccines for this, that they will be endorsing that those 12-year-olds have sex or some kind of sexual activity. It doesn't have to be full-on intercourse, I don't think. It could be some other transfer. And then there's a mentality that if you don't give it, you are somehow severely influencing a person's people's natural drives to have sex, which is a ridiculous thought, because it's going to take a lot more work than that. It is the same mentality that has allowed AIDS to spread wildly. Rumors and lies also happen. There are certain religious groups that do not believe in using any medicine whatsoever, and to just actually pray away sickness. And there are certain religions that do allow for some medicines, but heavily suggest not to use other preventative measures. Catholics in particular help the spread of AIDS severely because their strong no condom stance, which they still preach from their pulpits to this day, even if the Pope has backed away from that, or the current Pope. But current Pope says one thing one week and sometimes says that something a little different the next. So that doesn't mean the message gets to the right people. There are even countries where condoms are illegal to buy. Interesting. Nuclear explosion in Spain. Huge nuclear explosion in Spain has released a vast cloud of radioactive particles, causing unknown but location suggests failure or sabotage of nuclear power plant containment system. Interesting. So Spain's out. Spain is out of the picture. But yes, there are even countries where condoms are illegal. So you can't even buy them. And that certainly helps the spread of lots and lots of diseases. What can be universally said, and I'll go out on a limb and not even say my opinion, is that not vaccinating, not promoting good and proper use of condoms, disseminating false information, disseminating rumors, all of these things have a 100% effective rate of spreading viruses and disease. So, if you're for these things, you're for the virus. It's just that simple. Viruses don't care your reasoning. Viruses don't care your opinions, your thoughts, your religious beliefs. They don't care about any of that. They're just gonna spread. Unless somebody does something real, something actual and physical that actually works to stop them. So, go get your kids vaccinated. Measles, mumps, rubella, all vaccines that are pretty much required. Pakistan actually is throwing people in jail now if they don't get their kids vaccinated. And you know what? Maybe it's gonna get to that. So get your kids now vaccinated, or maybe in a few years you're gonna be thrown in jail because you didn't. Because doctors, even in America, will call child support if you don't vaccinate your kid. They will threaten. At the very least, I've seen doctors threaten. And they have every right to turn your kid away and say, I'm not going to help them with whatever's wrong with them if you're not going to get them vaccinated, because I'm not going to have an unvaccinated kid get all the other kids in the waiting room sick. So, measles, mumps, rubella, polio, all vaccines, and HPV. The United States government has a website. You can Google it. It prints out this nice little chart of how often and when you're supposed to get your kid vaccinated. You almost have to have your kids vaccinated to go to public school. Get what is recommended by your doctor and ask about things that aren't recommended. And ask why they aren't recommended. Maybe go a little bit overboard. I would much rather have my kids, if I had any kids, over-vaccinated, and then if some virus spread and killed out all of humanity like we have in this game, this simulation game, I'd much rather one of my kids survive, because he had too many vaccines. There's literally no reason not to get a vaccine. There are no legitimate side effects. It is a 1 in a billion chance that your kid would be the one that has a bad reaction, and there is a 1 and way less than a billion chance that your kid's gonna get one of these diseases. Particularly if other people stop vaccinating, which is what's happening. People have gone crazy and they've stopped vaccinating their kids for ridiculous, wrong lies. And now their kids have become walking vectors to infect your kids. If you know any of your kids' friends are not vaccinated, you pull your kids out of school, you don't let them ever play again, you ostracize them, you quarantine them. Because your children's health is 100% vital to you, and you have to do everything you can possibly do to protect it. That also includes chickenpox. The old thought that you should let people get chickenpox, and if somebody has chickenpox, you have a chickenpox party, is not correct. It's fine if your kid does get chickenpox, but in today's day and age, you should not intentionally infect your kid. We will almost certainly have a vaccine for chickenpox. already made and available in a few years. So it's not that your kid is going to get it later and it's going to be much worse, which is the thought of infecting them while they're still a child. It's the fact that it is much more likely that intentionally getting your kid chickenpox now increases the chance of your adult child later in life of having shingles and having to deal with that condition, which is worse. If your child happens to go through their childhood and not get chickenpox, don't worry about it. The vaccine is just around the corner. They'll get the vaccine, and then they won't ever have had chickenpox, and they won't ever ever get shingles. So that's your goal, even for that virus. I hope chickenpox is a virus. I'm pretty sure it is. Anyways, HPV, a disease that in reality I don't think would ever. Well, it could mutate, but anything could mutate. I don't believe it would eliminate all of humanity. In this simulation, certainly has. The cure only got up to 40%. We got rid of everybody in 952 days. We got 5,460 score with 3 biohazards. And we have unlocked base hydrolysis. I guess, base hydrolysis for next time. Next time we will be playing with the ever so difficult fungus. And let's see, with base hydrolysis, your plague can mutate abilities, but it's easier to cure. So no to that. Mutating abilities, mutating transmissions, sound like great things, but not worth it as far as when you make it easier to cure. That's it for this episode. Go check the vaccine schedule on the internet. The government provides you with a nice little chart. Even as an adult, you might be missing some vaccines. Maybe even as an adult, you need to go get some shots. That's it for this episode, though. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of the video. All that helps me out. If you want to support me through fan funding, click on my name, Rydo. On the right is a blue button that says support this channel. Any amount you donate will be greatly appreciated. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Google Plus or Battle.net or Steam, all that information is down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.